Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and good morning to our respective viewers. On behalf of the organizer, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia, I would like to welcome everyone to our e-roundtable discussion, eRTD, Malaysia and Australia. We would like to extend our warmest welcome to our viewers, fellow lecturers, teachers, school administrators, and future educators from Malaysia, Australia, and beyond. We would like to also express our sincere thanks to everyone for being with us today. Do stay tuned with us until the end of the e-roundtable discussion. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Shairatul Azlin Abdul Shukur, currently a counselor and lecturer at Language Department, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia. It is a great honor for me to be moderating today's e-roundtable discussion. Personally, this is a blessing as well as a proud moment for me to be together with not only one, but six respected speakers in the education sphere. The e-roundtable discussion today is proposed and intended for a sharing and learning platform to educators, while our panelists will be focusing on the theme Future Pedagogy Begins Today. This e-roundtable discussion is expected to share valuable insights, sharing from experiences, and new discovery on future pedagogy and teaching approaches that best suit the students and teachers in the post-COVID-19 era worldwide. Before we begin our discussion, I would like to invite Mr. Romaino Ben Rabu, Director of Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia, to deliver his speech.
Thank you, Madam MC. A very good morning to Dr. Rosmini binti Ko Ahmad, Rector Institute of Teacher Education Malaysia, Ministry of Education Malaysia. Dr. Muhammad Nordin bin Abu Bakar, Deputy Director, Teacher of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus. Dr. Baharuddin bin Saleh, Head of Education Department, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus. Dr. Nur Haslinda binti Shuib, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus. Madam Cik Haritun binti Abdullah, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus. Professor Madya Dr. Azidah binti Abu Zidin, University Science Malaysia. Madam Syafinas binti Adam, District Education Office, Seremban Negeri Sembilan. Dr. Sufyan bin Subhan, Learning and Teaching Consultant, Curriculum, Griffith University, Queensland, Australia. All heads of department and heads of unit IPG KPT, ladies and gentlemen, participants from Malaysia and Australia. On behalf of Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus members, I would like to welcome and thank the roundtable discussion panelists for their willingness to accept our invitation to discuss the topics that are highly relevant in education today, relevant current pedagogical approaches and future pedagogical approaches in education. Indeed, we are very grateful to the Almighty God for enabling us to gather in today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, the Malaysian Education Development Plan 2013-2025 outlines the transformation in the national education based on 11 major shifts. The fourth shift that is transforming the teaching profession into a profession of choice, highlights the importance of the teaching profession as an agent of change and progress in the society. In an effort to realize the shifts, the Ministry of Education Malaysia aims to improve the quality of students' learning system regardless of their social backgrounds. In an effort to elevate the teaching professions at the Institute of Teacher Education, we are looking at the best pedagogical approaches to be implemented in the classroom, taking into consideration students' diversity. Therefore, Cluster 7's internationalization expansions under the IPG Transformation 2016-2025 paves the way for IPG-KPT to expand the network of collaboration between IPG, local and international institutions for the sharing of information and fresh ideas from local and abroad that benefits the teaching and learning. Ladies and gentlemen, using relevance and appropriate pedagogical approaches can help teachers improve knowledge, skills, and values among students. Therefore, today's discussion focuses on current and future pedagogies that can be implemented in the classroom, especially taking into consideration the impact of teaching and learning after the COVID-19 pandemic. Teachers can adopt the best pedagogical approaches in the classroom that suit the student's background and promote fun learning among students. Through this program, it is hoped that the sharing of ideas and thoughts from the panel members will successfully promote the spirit of teaching among the educational communities, such as teachers, trainee teachers, and lecturers, and will certainly add values to their practice of professionalism. Therefore, lecturers and teachers who always improve and strengthen their professionalism can provide the best quality of education to students who in turn will form a society that is not only able to face the current changes in the world, but also able to adopt future uncertainties in the educational system. Ladies and gentlemen, before concluding this speech, allow me, the organizing committees and the entire IPG-KPT staff to express our appreciation and gratitude to the round table discussion panelists for their willingness to share ideas throughout and experiences to promote the best pedagogical approaches in the world of education. Hopefully, this program will succeed in transforming the cultural scenario of teaching and learning among the educational community in Malaysia. On that note, and with the recitation of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, it is my pleasure to declare open the e-roundtable discussion Malaysia-Australia. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Romaino bin Rabu. Thank you, Mr. Romaino, for the opening speech. Future pedagogy begins today. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be the topic of our discussion today. To have a glimpse of the topic, let's watch this montage. Ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, moving on with the e-roundtable discussion agenda, we are proud to have with us 6 distinguished panelists from Malaysia and Australia to share and discuss on the topic. Now, allow me to share our panelists' background. First, we are proud to have Dr. Baharudin Saleh. He is the head of the Educational Department, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia. Dr. Baharudin is also a senior lecturer with vast experience in teacher training. Dr. Baharudin holds a degree in Technology and Education from University of Technology Malaysia in 2003, Master of Education in Curriculum Management and Development from Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris in 2012, and a Doctoral of Philosophy in Technical and Vocational Education from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia in 2020. He also obtained the Malaysian Advanced Diploma in Welding Technology and Mechanical Draftsmanship. He has a wide experience as a teacher and lecturer in the subjects of mechanical engineering, welding technology, industrial machining technology, computer-aided design in technical secondary schools, vocational colleges, and Institute of Teacher Education. He is also a member of the Asian Academic Society for Vocation Education and Training as VAT and the Malaysian Board of Technologies and board, also as the Technical Advisory Committee in Industrial Machining for vocational colleges, and his expertise is in the field of technical and vocational education and product design. Next, we have Dr. Naslinda binti Shuib. She is currently a lecturer at the Educational Department, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia. Her years of experience as a teacher and a counselor has contributed to her strong background as a teacher educator. She holds a degree, master, and doctoral philosophy in guidance and counseling. Dr. Nohaslinda is a registered counsellor with the Malaysian Board of Counsellor, National Counselling Association, and Association of Creative Art and Play Therapy Malaysia. She has published articles on counselling, art and play therapy, new pedagogies for deep learning and PDL, and emotional intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, another respected panelist with us today is Madam Cik Harithun binti Abdullah. Madam Cik Harithun Abdullah is a senior lecturer in the Department of Education, Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia since 2007. She has years of experience in teaching basic education courses such as pedagogy, teacher professionalism, the foundations of leadership, and the development of teacher professionalism, learning and the learner, classroom and behavior management, child development, and guidance and counseling for children. She is also one of the team members that draft courses information for pedagogy courses for diploma and degree programs. She was the head coach of the Genosis program organized by the Malaysian Innovation Agency between 2018 to 2019. She is currently among the master trainer for pedagogical capacity for deep learning or PTCL at Institute of Teacher Education, Technical Education Campus, Malaysia. Our next panelist is Associate Professor Dr. Azidah binti Abu Zaidin, who is a senior lecturer in School of Educational Studies, University Science, Malaysia. She is currently the Deputy Director of the Center for Development of Academic Excellence, USM. Her research interests are in the area of instructional design, e-learning and m-learning, educational technology, ICT, and multimedia and 21st century learning. Dr. Azidah has received various awards nationally and internationally, including University of Canterbury New Zealand Research Award from 2003 to 2006. As a national e-learning master trainer, she conducts trainings to lecturers and educators in instructional design, e-learning approaches and tools, as well as new approaches of teaching and learning nationally and internationally. Dr. Azidah is the recipient for the prestigious Malaysia Academic Award, a teaching award in 2017, and was a Gold Award for Best Learning Model blended in LearnX Impact Award 2018 in Melbourne, Australia. Next, together with us today is also another panelist, Madam Shafinas binti Adam. Madam Shafinas binti Adam is a School Improvement Specialist Coach, SISC Plus at Negeri Sembilan Education Department. Her expertise include coaching and mentoring, helping and sharing knowledge with the coaches, the middle leaders of teachers, MLT, in strategizing and planning, as well as providing 21st century teaching and learning knowledge to the teacher through professional development and professional learning community. She started teaching in 2002 to 2013, and she holds a Bachelor of Education degree in TESOL from University of Exeter, UK, and a Master of Philosophy from University Technology, Malaysia. She has published articles and research on acceptance of mobile language learning, MLL, among teachers in Malaysia, project-based learning using mobile devices, flipped classroom approaches in teaching, fun learning using approaches of CLT, TPR, and critical thinking. And our last but not least, the panelist for our e-roundtable discussion today is Dr. Sofian bin Subhan. Dr. Sofian bin Subhan is currently a learning and teaching consultant curriculum with the Arts, Education and Law Group at Griffith University. He advocates for and works around frameworks of inclusive, compassionate, and transition pedagogies. Dr. Sofian focuses on social linguistics, international English, and issues of social justice in language teaching. He has also been awarded the University Award for Teaching Excellence in 2011 and 2012. Now, those are our distinguished panelists. Now, let's go to our round one of our e-roundtable discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, today, during the roundtable discussion, each panelist will be given an allocation of 5 to 7 minutes each to respond and share their valuable insights during 2 rounds of presentation. This will be followed with a 3 minutes allocation for appointed panelists to wrap up their points of views in the third round. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first panelist to share his thoughts on our topic for discussion. Future pedagogy begins today. To begin with Dr. Baharudin, future pedagogy. Can you please share with our panelists and our viewers why is it important and relevant for us to highlight this for our roundtable discussion today? Over to you, Dr. Baharudin.
Thank you, moderator, Madam Saratu. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to Dr. Rosmini Ku Ahmad, Rector, Institute of Education Malaysia, Mr. Romaino Merabu, Director, Institute of Teacher Education Technical Campus, Dr. Muhammad Nordin bin Abu Bakar, Deputy Director, Institute of Teacher Education Technical Campus, panelist e-roundtable discussion, Dr. Noah Slinda and Madam Sheikh Harisun, lecturer from Institute of Teacher Education Technical Campus, Associate Professor Dr. Azida from University of Science Malaysia, Dr. Sofian from Griffith University, Australia, and Madam Safinas, School Improvement Specialist Coaches Plus, or SIST Plus, Seremban District Education Office, Malaysia. Before we go deeper into the focus of discussion today, allow me to highlight the input related to importance of pedagogies and the approaches of pedagogies. Okay, what is the pedagogy in the education and learning? There are many aspects of learning and development that have been researched and have been developed over the years. For me, in my experience, in my research during my master degree, I'm focuses on pedagogical practice on training teachers in a Institute of Education Technical Campus. And combination of teaching and student learning have driven many new form understanding in the whole learning process. Both education and learning have benefit from clearer understanding of how the brain initiate learning and how students compute information. And we see seen on the screen, I focus on 3 pedagogy meanings. It was pedagogy is often described as the act of teaching. And the second, the method how teaching, both as an academic subject or theoretical concept. And the third, the way how teacher deliver the content of the curriculum to the whole class. And then reflect to the moderator question, why is the pedagogy is very important? The first, I highlight in the pedagogy very important is make the relationship between the teacher and the learner much closer, and then help the learning facilitators or teacher become agile or fast in their approach and mesh the learning processes on their student. And pedagogical is very important with the derive a direct link between the way the learning encouraged and the actual result of the learning. And of course, engagement in the learning process when students have what is called students have an input to the way the learning is encouraged. Okay, and then the pedagogy is very important to increase access to more metacognitive learning strategies tend to correlate to the longer terms of idea and concept. And then the delivering a learning program in a way that learner learns best makes student more likely to be engaged. And the more important is more student learns and the greater the enjoyment of the process and the more open to self-learning in the future. And the last of in my what you call pedagogy is very important is when learner takes the information that is applicable in the real world situation. They are more likely to see connection between the concept of the learning when student learns in the classroom. Okay, we go to the what is the pedagogical approach. Therefore, I mentioned I have focuses of four pedagogical approach is that collaborative and inquiry-based, integrative, and then the fourth is reflective. Okay, we've seen the first I focus on collaborative is when they enable learner to work in pair, group or whole team to learn the concept and apply them in the real world scenario. The pedagogical approach is around situation and problem the learning will experience in the line of the life. And we go to the reflective, can reflect on what they have picked up the vital of the idea are to be consolidated and established in their mind and heart. Get learner to spend 5 or 10 minutes reviewing their notes, and discussing action with one or two partners, sharing learning point with others. And of course, the integrative in the pedagogical approach, this where student learners learn while interacting with other, and interactive approach allow for the cross validation of idea and the concept. That's all from me, and I pass over to the moderator.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bahrudin. Those were very insightful points that you have shared just now. And ladies and gentlemen, our fellow viewers, if I may recap, some of Dr. Bahrudin's points were pedagogy is important in ensuring a strong relationship between the teacher and the learner. And next, pedagogy helps the teachers or facilitators match their approaches with the learning processes of the learners. And Dr. Bahrudin mentioned that through pedagogical approaches, it derives a direct link between the way learning is encouraged and the actual intended results of the whole learning processes. And mastering pedagogical approach also allow increased engagement in learning and increased access to metacognitive learning strategies. Furthermore, Dr. Bahrudin highlighted that pedagogy also helps in the delivery of the lesson. And in fact, various pedagogy creates enjoyment among students. Okay, this is very interesting and helps students to connect the information that they learn to real world situations. Once again, thank you, Dr. Bahrudin. Now, let us hear from our second panelist, Dr. Nasrinda Shuib. Dr. Nasrinda, Dr. Baharudin just now has opened the discussion with strong messages and points for us to reflect and ponder. What is your view on future pedagogy begins today? Over to you, Dr. Linda.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, Wan Shairatul. As an introduction, I would like to highlight about the real world learning as a future pedagogies begin today. Real world learning is not a new element in the context of student learning because this pedagogy is related to real life in which the real learning process takes place actively and optimally. This framework is introduced by Rebecca et al. In 2017 in the book Real World Learning Framework. Real world learning involves challenging and messy problems. Authentic learning by interacting with the real world to complete tasks and solve problems. Real world learning involves interpretation, multifaceted and interdisciplinary, and applying to an existing algorithm, which is not easy to solve. There are three basic components found in real-world learning, namely cognitive complexity, student engagement, and technology integration. Right. First is cognitive complexity. That is the level of critical thinking required by students for an instructional task or project. And second is students' engagement, which learners take a responsibility for their own real-world learning, partnership, or collaborate with the teachers, other students, or outside experts in the discipline. Teachers can help the student differentiate their interest and make choices on how they approach the task or project through their collaborative resources and opportunity. And that is technology integration. That is the level at which students use technology as research tools, collaborative tools, design tools, student-directed, the receive Bloom's taxonomy. It gives a spark to how real-world learning can be discovered and conveyed. It is also emphasized students using technology, not teachers using technology. Technology integration is more than just having students go to the computer lab or to watch a science video or take an online quiz, locate information on the web, or progress through levels of online mathematics activities or software. The student use technology to display their meaning. Students can really do real world work with the availability of information, resources, collaboration and communication tools, project creation tools, and presentation tools. Not only does what we call effective technology integration enable 21st century real-world learning, but using technology tools is so natural that students are only focused on the content or project, not the technology. So we make that learning process as learning first, technology second. So answering the moderator's questions, my view on future pedagogy begins today is through the real world learning, which contains three basic components, namely cognitive complexity, student engagement, and technology integration. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just now Dr. Nasinda has pointed few important points, which the first one is she strongly believes that the real world learning as future pedagogy. And through real world learning, learners experience real world authentic learning by interacting with the real world to complete tasks and also solve problems, the massive problems that she mentioned just now. And number three, the three basic components found in real world learning, namely cognitive complexity, student engagement, and also technology integration. Thank you. Thanks again, Dr. Naslinda. All right. Now, moving on to our next panelist. Let's hear from our third panelist, Madam Cik Harithun binti Abdullah. Madam Cik Harithun, I'm interested in the real world learning. Okay, can you share with us, explain more, what are the important elements and the potential of real world learning in optimizing learning processes and experiences for the learners? Over to you, Madam Cik Harithun.
Thank you, moderator, Madam Sharatul Azrin. As ITE, or Institute Technical Education, or we call here IPG, Institute Pendidikan Guru, is a place to train teachers who will be in school. So we want it to not be an element of what you know, but what you do, which is what they need to do because it encourages students' engagement. By encouraging student engagement, it can be achieved through real world learning, as what has been explained by Dr. Nur Haslinda just now. There are three elements in real world learning in optimizing learning processes and experiences for the learners. First, learning is integrated across subject areas, or in other words, in interdisciplinary. Educators Barton and Smith 2000 state that interdisciplinary learning is across multiple courses. It provides authentic experiences in more than one content area, offers a range of learning experiences for students, and gives students choices in the projects they pursue and the ways they demonstrate their learning. Interdisciplinary units enable teachers to use classroom time more efficiently and address content in depth while giving students the opportunity to see the relationship between content areas and engage in authentic tasks and projects. Okay, second, learning as close to the real world as possible, or in other words, we call authentic. Students immersed in authentic learning activities cultivate the kind of transferable skills, or we call portable skills, that are applicable in new and different situations, settings, or connections. These skills include judgment to distinguish reliable from unreliable information, patience to follow longer arguments and assignments, uh, the ability to recognize relevant patterns in unfamiliar contexts, and flexibility to work across disciplinary and cultural boundaries to generate innovative solutions. Students involved in authentic learning are motivated to persevere despite initial frustration, as long as the project embodies what really counts to them: a social structure they enjoy, topics and activities of personal interest, and a feeling that what they are doing is very important and valued. Okay, the last one and the third one, collaborating with experts in the field or discipline being studied. Okay, a real world problem comprise complex tasks that students investigate over a sustained period of time. Students locate their own resources and are not given a finite list of resources. Collaboration is integral to authentic learning. where teamwork is critical in making decisions, solving problems, creating products, and maneuvering the social aspects of learning with a team. So collaboration between the teacher and students is essential to select the content, design the task of or project, and construct the assessment. A strong collaboration with experts in the field is invaluable in student acquisition of the knowledge, skills, and disposition necessary to develop discipline, work ethic, and collaboration proficiencies. Collaboration with these experts could occur in person at the school through a field trip to the expert's work location or via video conferencing with Skype, Meets, Teams, and etc. To sum up, answering to the moderator's question just now, there are three important elements in the real world learning, that is learning integrated across subject areas of interdisciplinary, learning as close to the real world as possible or authentic, and collaboration with experts in the field or discipline being studied. With that, I have elaborated all my points. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Madam Cik Harison. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear just now, Madam Cik Harison has highlighted the three elements in the real world learning. Okay, once again, thank you, Madam Cik Harison. Now, moving on to our fourth panelist, Dr. Azida. Dr. Azida, other than real world learning, what are other innovative and more current pedagogy or teaching approaches that seems promising in creating a meaningful learning experiences for both teachers and learners?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning, everybody. So, back to the Miss Moderator's question just now. Other pedagogies approaches, current or technological approaches that can be used in teaching in educating our future teachers. All right, so there are many pedagogical approaches that we can see in is growing. Okay, is growing in the world. Okay, and we have game-based learning, we have flipped learning, we have blended learning, and computational thinking, and many interactive pedagogical tools, okay, that should, that we predict to provide meaningful learning experiences to our students. All right, so how do we go about using these pedagogical approaches? Okay, the approaches are there. All right, we are being introduced. Okay, our pre-service teachers, okay, even our teachers are being introduced to the current pedagogical approaches. Okay, and as a technology person, okay, I always use technology-based approaches for our pre-service teachers. But how do we use these approaches to make sure that the students will be able to get meaningful learning experiences? Okay, for example, computational thinking. All right, why it is integrated in the pedagogical approaches? It comes from computer sciences. All right, and when we try to include this in our curriculum, okay, and there are some misconception, okay, on the computational thinking, meaning that they teach the computational thinking itself. It is rather than integrating the computational thinking concept in teaching. All right, so actually when we talk about computational thinking, we are trying to look at solving real life problems. All right, and then teachers should be able to facilitate students to look for various skills to teach more than just content. Then this computational thinking will be able to facilitate, to help teachers. Using the approach will be able to help teachers to facilitate students to be more to teach more than just content. All right. So, and these all pedagogical approaches which I highlighted student-centered there is to make sure that we prepare our future leaders, our future talents, okay, our students to connect, okay, and we need them to prepare to various new intervention, innovation, and we could not predict what will happen in the future. Okay, the future grows very fast. Okay, that's why whatever approaches that we use in our classroom, we look at how to engage new learning to the students. Okay, we are going to look at student-centered, whereby the teachers will only facilitate the students. All right. However, okay, the teachers, okay, our pre-service teachers and also our teachers also need to understand new vocabs, yeah, new vocabulary, buzzword. There are many buzzwords that appear. Okay, for example, yeah, now we have VUCA world. Okay, people who haven't heard of VUCA world keep on asking, what is VUCA world? Where this buzzword coming from? Okay, so yeah, I think we also need to introduce this to our student. We are looking at VUCA world, okay, we are looking at uncertainty. We don't know what will happen in the future. That's why these different pedagogical approaches appear, okay, in our teaching practices. All right. Also, we need to also um, explore different types of learning. All right, different types of learning. That's why just now one of the panel mentioned about as I can remember, mentioned about different types of learning, different types of approaches that can lead to different types of learning. Okay, we are not looking at content, but we are looking at exploring new ideas, exploring new ideas in teaching and learning. All right, it is very important for us as educators. Back to you, Miss Moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zida. It is great to know that there are actually many other pedagogical approaches and interactive pedagogical tools that has been introduced and potentially bringing meaningful learning experiences to the learners. And just now, Dr. Zida mentioned about computational thinking and the importance for the teachers to facilitate the learners as these future pedagogy or interactive pedagogical tools are actually mainly student or learner centered. Thank you. Thanks again, Dr. Azida. Now, I would like to invite our fifth panelist to share her thoughts and valuable experiences with us. Okay, let us hear from Madam Shafinas. Madam Shafinas, we have heard the advancement in pedagogical approaches as discussed by our previous panelists. How do we provide sufficient training and coaching to our teachers to help them with this development in teaching strategy? And what could be the support system or resources that Department of Education has provided for the teachers? Over to you, Madam Shafinas.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Puan Syiratul Azlin. Okay, number one, thank you very much for the questions. I can see that as me as IC Plus working in the District Education Office, so this is what we do. The approaches are there, the pedagogicals are there. So it's now for our job is to impart the knowledge to the teachers that hopefully is going to benefit the students. So key number one is when we coach, as a coach, we mentor. And the first thing we have to do is to go back to the what is the aim of the Malaysian education system. What we want is to provide the 21st century teaching and learning environment, right? So what we do is we keep focusing on the importance of the four, we call it as 4C and 1N, which is cooperative, collaborative, communication skills, the creativity, the critical thinking, and as well as the value. Okay, that is a key number one. And then how do we impart this knowledge? To how do we impart this idea to the students? Number one, not to the teachers. So number one, what we do is the technique of the coaching and mentoring itself. Okay, as a coach, we have the art of coaching and mentoring. The key number one, first, the episodes of being a coach is to know and to celebrate differences among teachers, to know their need, to know their context, to know what interests the teacher, the age of the teachers, the gender of the teachers. We have to take that consideration in order to impart or to share the knowledge of what the pedagogical, what's happening in the future nowadays. That is number one, coaching and mentoring. And how do we conduct the coaching and mentoring? It's by two ways. This is our support system. This is what we provide, the services that we provide. Number one, coaching and training individually. One-to-one, we have that, sit together with teachers, we help them, we coach them, we be their friends to that extent. If we have to reach to that extent, we write lesson plan, we plan together, we think together, go ahead, we'll do to that extent. And then there are also, we conduct coaching when it comes to group, a huge group, whereby we give, we call it here in Malaysia is CPD, right? So we give coaching based on the topics they demand, based on the latest pedagogical or approaches that the government wants the teachers to learn and to impart it to the students. We conduct it in a larger group, which is so much fun. It's like a workshop style where it's a workshop style where we can play and we can really show what's happening, what is all 21st century teaching and learning. It's not all about digital devices, it's the digital devices is a tool. We got to keep reminding the teachers. It's just a tool. If we keep referring 21st century teaching and learning is the latest technology, the latest pedagogy is all about latest technology. What happened to the rural areas teachers? What happened to the rural area students? So it's actually, we keep promoting the part where it's all about the art, how to impart the 4C and the one that I told you earlier. And then when it comes to not part of that, we also introduce PLC, Professional Learning Community. We try to promote that learning community in schools. How learning, how sharing information is so much fun. There are more hits, better than one, that kind of thing, and I can see the culture is like emerging in Malaysia's schools. And then we promote what is all about lesson studies, video critics. It's all about improving ourselves as a teacher. And then for me as IC Plus, I also have clients among teachers. We call it as MLT, middle leader teachers. Middle leader teachers is where we coach them, we guide them, we work together with them on how to strategize, how to plan your department. Like for me, I'm working under language department, so all languages offered in my district, I have to sit together with the head of department, sit together, we strategize about the programs, the teaching style, those kind of things. So strategizing, planning, we promote design thinking, that kind of things. Okay. And then and when we coach, we have to make sure there's always FUFT, the follow up, follow through thing. It's not a one-off thing. In fact, if you were to conduct the workshop, like what I told you just now, we make sure that there's an impact. It's not just it's a one-off kind of thing. It's not a business as usual kind of thing. So there's always FUFT. And then part of my department also task is to recognize potential among teachers. Those who are optimistic, those who are really willingly to share with other teachers, we promote them. We upgrade them to become the district, what we call it as JU, Jurulatih Utama in districts or states. We promote new bloods, I call it, as new potentials. So they can help because they are in that context. They are working in the same environment like other teachers. The idea of friends to friends things is more like, the ideas are there. They know what's happening more there. So we promote new leadership, new potentials, and we hope that whatever things we do, whatever things that we promote at our level is all about promoting fun teaching, meaningful teaching, which benefits not only the teachers, lessen the teachers' burden, and also the students. And then we focus now more on the critical thinking, where critical thinking is not only about theory only, because we promote critical thinking is about imparting how we can impart the knowledge that they learn from the Bloom's taxonomy as well as the Anderson's, that it can impart to the real life, so that the students know, hey, I learned this because I can use it in my real life, something like that. So that is what we are trying to promote here now. And then all about differentiated teaching and learning, differentiation, where we cater to multiple abilities of students in schools. And then we help the teachers to design the lesson or activities, not lesson, not only lesson and activities that can cater to all level of groups in the same classroom. Yeah, that's it, I guess, for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Shafinaz. So it's very clear there are already many initiatives being done in helping our teachers to cope with 21st century teaching and learning. And if I can echo from Madam Shafinaz, training, coaching, and mentoring as a mean for preparing teachers for 21st century teaching and learning and future pedagogy. And also identifying the teacher needs and differences through this training, coaching, and also mentoring, and coaching and training individually, in groups, workshops, and promoting and helping adjustment of 21st century teaching and learning for diverse background of learners. And also she mentioned about professional learning community, and also strategizing individual coaching strategy for each coachees or the middle leaders MLTs. And also she mentioned about follow up, follow through, the importance of doing this, okay, ensuring the objective is being achieved, and also identifying the potential teachers and promote new leaderships, new what we called master trainers if possible, and other SISC plus, I guess. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our final panelists for our first round of this discussion. Dr. Sofian, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Okay. We have heard from 5 panelists on future pedagogy. Now, looking at the development of Malaysia and Australia education, as you have heard from our panelists just now, how different do you see the potential of future pedagogy in Australia and also Malaysia? Is there any differences?
Well, first, Assalamualaikum, everyone, and I would like to thank the panelists for sharing the pedagogical approaches that are currently available to teachers, both here in both in Australia and also in Malaysia. But as mentioned by Dr. Shafinaz, it's a matter of how do we guide educators and pre-service teachers use these approaches meaningfully. And I think that's the bigger discussion when we talk about future pedagogy. But before we work on this notion of future pedagogy, I think we need to acknowledge where we are at right now. And Australia is no different compared to Malaysia. We are still in a particular situation which is quite, how do I say, uncertain. So, and interestingly also, asking around Francois Malaysians, this pandemic has in fact provided a very stark reminder that we do not all start out with the same resources and opportunities. Now, in fact, the pandemic has heightened this disparity and raised issues of equity, which was raised by Dr. Shafinaz when she mentioned that not all students have computers when we do e-learning, okay? And that's, again, it is a universal issue, not just a Malaysian issue or an Australian issue. Specifically, school closures in Australia related to COVID-19 pandemic sometime in 2020 meant that particular students with particular backgrounds were more at risk. And these are the same families who will be less likely or uninformed on how to seek out or receive educational supports. So whatever pedagogy that you have that a teacher has implemented during this period, we still need to manage other considerations, and that includes understanding where our students are at and their households, basically. So a good example is the technology-informed home-based learning pedagogy, which many schools in Australia initially adopted, with the assumption that families have the technologies and skills to engage with this type of learning. And again, it's a similar situation, I believe, in Malaysia, where schools and teachers are how do I say, working fervorously and actively to see how can we still teach, given that students can't come to school, right? within the context of Australia itself and my own personal experience as a father working from home and having to teach my sons at home, not long schools in Australia realized that not all families have computers at home, and even if there are computers, this may have to be shared among siblings, and not all families have internet access at home, which we see as a necessity, but others see it as a luxury. And not all students can engage with remote, virtual, or e-learning, as mentioned by Dr. Azida, right? And within the context of teachers and teaching, not all teachers are able to engage with or have been trained in home-based learning pedagogies and to design remote learning resources. So as mentioned just now, I've experienced firsthand the initial home-based learning. We have 2 computers at home, we have 4 laptops, my sons have their separate rooms to work in, and I myself is an educator, and we still couldn't make home-based learning work as effectively as we wanted. So we were sent schoolwork from teachers, which were meant for a full day at school, and we were expected to complete this throughout the week. Now, it was obviously very challenging as I had to work from home, and then my sons dreaded doing the work sent by teachers because they think it's homework. So I decided that my sons and I would do whatever we could to manage realistically, given the situation that we were in, and I believed many Australian and Malaysian parents did the same. So over time, home-based learning in Australia evolved to address issues of equity experienced by students. And I think this was the first learnings from teachers and schools working with the initial home-based learning model. The home-based learning model then could be considered an innovation due to the disruption in how learning and teaching has been carried out prior to the pandemic. So in terms of pedagogy, I'm going to give you some practical examples of that has happened in my son's primary school. So during closures and interruptions or disruptions during school, teachers used to put together a weekly learning and care resource package, which parents used to pick up on Mondays. This is specifically for households without internet or devices. For me, this is what I call inclusive pedagogy. Among other considerations, like for example, student-centered, communicative learning pedagogy, I think inclusive pedagogy is something that we need to consider moving forward. So in essence, inclusive pedagogy is about being aware who your students are, what are their circumstances, and that you don't miss these details when you're supporting your students. And I'm going to explore this a little bit later. Continuing my son's school, on alternate days of the week, teachers and students did a Zoom-like catch-up for maybe half an hour. So this is specifically for students who do not have access to the internet. So my son, his friends, and his teachers did some type of socializing. So they asked each other how they were doing. They sang songs, they shared drawings. My son's teacher picked on one task or activity that they must complete for that week, and she talked about that task. Now, this is the concept of belonging. And it is evidence-based within the understanding of inclusive pedagogy that the feeling that you belong in a class, you belong in a school, you belong basically supports students' engagement in learning. And this is, I believe, relates to what Dr. Baharuddin has highlighted as an important aspect of learning, that is the relationship formed between teacher and students and between peers. For students who didn't have access to the internet or their parents were essential workers, students were invited to schools, obviously within COVID-19 safety protocols. So what I'm trying to show here, folks, is that the discussions around future pedagogy is not just about pedagogies in general, about how we teach. It has much to do with the question and reasons to why we teach the way we teach. And this is where an awareness and understandings of inclusive pedagogy is in fact very important, I feel. So COVID-19 has indeed created numerous innovations, as what Dr. Azida was saying just now, in the learning and teaching space, and have the potential to shape the future. However, I think I would like us as educators who have experienced innovative disruption to reflect on what we want to stop doing, what we want to keep doing, and what we want to start doing. So with that, I end my sharing. Back to you, Sharatul.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sufyan. That was a very interesting sharing indeed. Okay, the main points that I can echo from Dr. Sufyan, what he shared just now, was the importance of guidance for teachers in preparing them for future pedagogy. And post-COVID-19, Malaysia and Australia face not much different challenges concerning ensuring education continuity, especially for the learners and the young learners. And home-based learning model, Dr. Sufyan looked at it as an innovation in teaching and learning. I believe same goes to PDPR in Malaysia. And also he mentioned about inclusive pedagogy is a way of moving forward in educating the learners. We will hear more about inclusive pedagogy as he promised in our second round, inshallah. All right, Madam Cik Harisun. Now we are back to you on our second round. Madam Cik Harisun, from your point of view, how do you see the impacts of future pedagogy on the learners?
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. In my opinion, future pedagogy, in whatever terminologies used, can be deep learning, real world learning, as mentioned by Dr. Nohasvinda just now, or by other speakers at the panels just now, or anything of the sort, lead to quality learning for students. Here in ITE or Institute Technical Education or IPG, Institute Pendidikan Guru, I always like to mention in Malay, Institute Pendidikan Guru. We use the terminology as pedagogical capacity for deep learning, or PCDL, or in Malay we call capacity pedagogi pembelajaran bermakna. Right. Future pedagogy focuses on connecting student learning to the real world as much as possible, as it impacts student real learning that is of concern to the students. Not just relevant, having an impact on the real world and working with outside experts. Unlike simply relevant learning, future pedagogy doesn't just focus on topics that interest the students. It makes learning meaningful and therefore more impactful by also requiring students to collaborate with each other, their teacher, and outside experts. Right? This is not the traditional formula where students work in isolation. In future pedagogy, teachers and students can work together to integrate real-world learning across multiple subject areas while also mastering multiple standards in those subject areas. Okay. In Malay we call what? Gabung jalin. Gabung jalin discipline. Yes, it does take planning and collaboration, but student learning is much deeper, richer, and longer lasting. Future pedagogy goes deep when teachers and students delve into the complexities of real world problems and at the same time interweave the appropriate student learning standards. An authentic environment encourages real substantive conversation with an open sharing of ideas. Okay, coming back to the question just now, I would say that future pedagogy can impact the students by, the first one is, it sticks with the students for the rest of their life. Here, the impact is it will become their habit. Right? The second one is it increases student engagement in the learning through personalization and ownership. For example, when they learn, they will also be responsible to the learning process. Maksudnya penglibatan sepenuhnya. Itu dia. The next impact, it connects students to the real world. The learning process depicts their real life situation. In fact, Fuller in 2018 said that students must engage the real world to change the world. Okay. Next, it resonates with spiritual values. The students will be more motivated and eager to learn. Okay. Furthermore, it builds skills, knowledge, self-confidence, and self-efficacy. These skills are vital as a preparation to become a wholesome teacher in the future. Or in Malay, we could say, guru berjiwa pendidik. Or maybe we can say, guru yang ada roh, roh guru.
Spirit.
Spirit.
Spirit of teacher.
Yes. Other than that, it builds new relationships with and between the learner, their teachers, families, and communities. It is like building a networking or learning partnership among those involved. Or we can say rakai pembelajaran. Last but not least, the impact also deepens the human desire to connect with others to do good. In other words, it instills to the students to build network with others in the community. So in conclusion, I believe when we implement in-depth learning, our students will achieve 6 C's global competencies to enhance character, citizenship, collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking in becoming good students. Like Madam Shafina mentioned just now. They refer as 5 C's and 4 C's and 1 N, right? Madam Shafina, I heard you mention just now. But we in IPG or in ITE we stress on 6 C's, but more or less the same. Okay, there are many advantages that students will have when we apply real-world learning as future pedagogy. With that, thank you for listening to my opinion. And back to you, Madam Moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Sheikh Harrison. She has a vast experience as a lecturer, and what she shared just now is basically what has been done and in preparing our future teachers in Malaysia. And what I can conclude from what Madam Sheikh Harrison mentioned just now is that future pedagogy definitely impacted our learners or students in many positive ways. Okay, thank you again, Madam Sheikh Harrison. Okay, now here we are in the second round with Dr. Azida. Dr. Azida, looking at the impacts of future pedagogy to the learners, just now you have mentioned a bit about training teachers, but now can you explain more details on the needs to prepare our teachers and educators on future pedagogy, since you are currently involved in Teacher Training Providers Institute in University Science Malaysia. Over to you, Dr. Azida.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. Okay, so I think there is a need for us, okay, as educators who are training future teachers. Yeah, we need to prepare our future teachers to various things. Okay, there are many things that we need to relook at in the way we prepare our pre-service teachers, also our current teachers, because I think both need to be enhanced. They need to learn and relearn. Okay, they need to relearn. Okay, the whatever they have learned during the teachers, the current teachers especially, whatever they have learned during their before they became a teacher. All right, I think some of them need to be relooked at. Okay, That's why, okay, and I think Dr. Sofian highlighted a very important thing. Whatever we experienced during the COVID-19, okay, we can see our teachers were struggling. Okay, they were really struggle in terms of conducting teaching and learning online, for example. And teachers, we also, they have not prepared to teach online at all before 2020, which is that makes a really big problem to us in Malaysia. Right, even we in USM, yeah, although we prepared our future teachers, our pre-service teachers with various technology, pedagogies, approaches, and so on, but during the first MCO, they were doing their teaching practicum. All right. So can you imagine? We teach them how to teach face to face, and suddenly during their teaching practicum, they had to teach online. Okay, and they have to transform their teaching. They have to adopt to new technology. All right, that they have not been using before, and they have to actually facilitate even their students. All right, and teachers in the schools also need the students, the prospective teachers, the pre-service teachers. They need their help as well, because they are new. Okay, they are new and they think they are younger, and they are with prepared with technology. Okay, so what happened here is that we need to actually look at on how we prepare our future teachers. All right, firstly, we need them to be connected. Okay, connected with, they need to be able to collaborate, they need to be able to co-create. Although we have facilitated, we have actually provide them with various pedagogies on how to be a teacher, but it's up to them to connect with others, what others are doing in the world, okay, in a different environment, different learning environment, not only with technology, without technology, how they can go about in doing intervention if problem arise where technology is not there to help them. All right, and then they need to be able to collaborate and co-create. Okay, it is not straightforward. Okay, it won't be straightforward because the future is different. It is not like when we graduated from our educational program. Okay, we assume that the school is the same, the student will be the same, but now the teachers, okay, the future teachers, they are digital natives compared to me. I'm not a digital native. Okay, I am a digital immigrant. Okay, but they are digital natives who are going to teach much more digital natives. All right, so they are just like the initial digital natives, but their student will be more than that. Okay, so how do we prepare our teachers to teach future generations, okay, that will be able to uh, adapt the entirely different world. Okay, the world will be different. Okay, and why technology is important. Although we did always tell our students that technology will support our teaching. It is not the main thing that we are looking at, but it will support our teaching. It can help us to enhance our teaching, but still, okay, the pedagogy is the first. What we want to teach is the main thing, not the technology. But however, we need to prepare them with technology as well, because the technology is there. Okay, you cannot deny that. We cannot deny that. All right, that our next generation is a technology their life is technology is their life. Okay, it is not to support them to live. They need technology for them to live. So we teachers, we need to actually teach our students, all right, our students to prepare on how to use the technology effectively, correctly, and with value. Okay, we can see that if you go to Twitter, you can see how many students they were, like, you know, the language in Twitter is different with language in Facebook. All right, the teachers, we go to Facebook, but our students go to Twitter. All right, so that is the different types of person we are. We as the teacher of the new teachers, all right, we go to Facebook, but we don't know what happened in Twitter. So I think, you know, the need to prepare ourselves to teach. Okay, first prepare ourselves first. Prepare ourselves, then we'll be able to teach, to prepare the future generations. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Azida. Okay, I've picked up a few important points here. Okay, Dr. Azida actually mentioned just now, preparing our future teachers is definitely very important. And same goes to teacher in service. Okay, she was referring to what Madam Shafinas mentioned just now. And prior COVID-19, she admitted that most teachers, whether in service or pre-service, were not prepared to teach online. Okay, that what we faced last time. And however, why did I say last time? Because we can see now um, the teachers now are more prepared to teach using technology, okay? Because they have transformed and they have also adapt to new technology during the COVID-19 era. And teachers need to look for opportunities to improve their IT skills and knowledge in preparing themselves to teach a future generation. And Dr. Zida also mentioned that technology supports teaching, but still pedagogy comes first. And the teacher training providers need to prepare the future teachers to familiarize themselves with current and also future technology in pedagogical approach. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Zida. Now, Dr. Zida has mentioned that both pre-service and in-service teachers need to be enhanced in preparing them for future pedagogy. That was her first point just now. So, Madam Shafinas, for those teachers already in service, how do we go beyond in upskilling our teachers with future pedagogy?
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Shiratul Azlin. Thank you for the question. It's a little bit challenging. All right. My opinion is in our at the district education level, our most and biggest challenges when to promote, it's like selling stuff, you know. We promote this new pedagogy, this new pedagogies and technique, is how to make them fall in love with that. That is our biggest challenge. How to capture their heart, to fall in love with all these new technologies and pedagogies. I remember way back, like what other panels said just now, mentioned just now, all those challenges. It's very difficult, I admit, but I refer to this TAM model, model acceptance, technology model acceptance model. It's a model I kept referring, and from that model, they kept mentioning about generation gap, interest, age, gender, what interests them. Is it like giving them profit or something like that for teachers? So I use that model as my basic for my coaching and mentoring. I guess most of my colleagues also are referring to TAM model a lot, because we are promoting, like what Dr. Azida has mentioned just now. Like it or not, technology is nowadays is one of the current important tools in pedagogy, in approaches, in teaching. So what we do is, we as a teacher, as I see us, as an educator, we promote the services, we promote the products. We make sure that when we give remember that I told you just now, we give training when it comes to individual as well as the in groups. So we promote, we make it as if these apps, this technique, this flip classroom, which obviously way back it sounds very difficult, but actually super easy. And then it's more like how we convince teachers, you know, like the art of convincing and selling product kind of thing. So far, Alhamdulillah, we can see that. The younger generation, like the other panelists said, that I can see the acceptance are more. But the huge challenge is where at my age level, the intermediate, the middle, in-service teachers as well as the older one. But it's okay, it's a huge challenge. I can see more optimism in them as we promote them in a very easier way. We can say like, teacher, if you use this, the students can assess it, and this is what we call as flipped classroom. Actually, the students can like can assess it when they are at home, and then make it their life easier. And sometimes we introduce it and then we prove it, and Alhamdulillah, they love it, they accept it. So what Tam model said, it's all about interest, generation gap is how we mingle and how we tackle that problem. That is number one. And number two, I would say that my hope is mesh network is promoted and or is introduced in schools, especially in rural areas. Like what I said, technology is important. Even though it's a tool, it is important to impart the knowledge. It's important for the current generation teachers, educators to help the students to have access to it. So hopefully Mesh Network is like widely used, inshallah, if we have like good financial and budget. And I saw actually most schools are already having it, but good for that. And Alhamdulillah, and then we improve the facilities. And as long as educators, we work as a team, regardless of any layers of education department, we work as a team, we keep promoting that actually these new pedagogies, these new approaches, this technology is not harmful for them, it's not actually really difficult for them. I bet we can achieve whatever things that we aim for, a better education of our generation. With that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Shafinas. Okay, she highlighted on the importance of acceptance of new technology, future pedagogy among the teachers, which actually I also believe is the key in introducing new pedagogical approaches to current teachers in the system. And furthermore, she talks about the importance of teamwork and also understanding. Thank you very much, Madam Shafinas. All right, now moving on to Dr. Nohaslinda. When we look at the future pedagogical approaches in education, how do you see the implementation of future pedagogy helps in students' involvements in learning processes, especially in the post-COVID-19? Well, before this, we have heard how the teachers' response, what are the teachers' needs in dealing with new pedagogy during the post-COVID-19. Now, let's look at the students. Over to you, Dr. Linda.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In my opinion, the implementation of future pedagogy can help in student engagement, especially in the post-COVID-19 pandemic. When we move towards student engagement, the point is initial instruction with the real world not only grabs students' attention, but also engages them much more than traditional lecture and textbook learning. It occurs in two situations, namely teacher-centered and student-centered. Students need learning to be real to them. They need involvement in the real world, and they need to collaborate with other students, the teacher and outside expert, which is a learning partnership. So the involvement of students in this future pedagogy can be implemented through 5 levels in real world learning. The 5 levels of real world learning are knowing, practicing, investigating, integrating, and specializing. So the first level is knowing. So what is the knowing? The task focus on problems that are irrelevant to the real world using a textbook and worksheet. Students are learning foundational knowledge or skills outside a real world context. Example of level 1 tasks include reading sign words, filling in multiplication text on a worksheet, or memorizing historical dates Next is practicing. So level 2 tasks provide some application to the real world using real objects or topics. For example, students may demonstrate mathematical problems with small rocks they collected, or comparing local mammals, telling how they are related, and showing the relationship in a Venn diagram. The next level is investigating. Learning involves stimulation of the real world in a teacher-directed task. For example, a student assume the role of a weather person and take over their role of predicting the weather, or a student take on the role of firefighters and analyze data to prove the cause of the fire. In addition, teacher can ask students to create volcanoes to gain new knowledge. For example, the teacher gives students the opportunity to explore by giving them vinegar, baking soda, and large containers, and then instruct them to use scientific methods to experiment in order to discover the amount of vinegar and baking soda that makes the best volcanoes. Next, a student write each step of the experimental scientific methods to answer the assignment questions. The fourth level is integrating. So what is the integrating? So integrating emphasize how student actions have a real impact on the classroom, school, or community. Learning is integrated across subject areas, including language arts, mathematics, science, and technology. Learning is student directed as teachers give students the opportunity to decide the direction of their own project and learning. For example, students may investigate water costs and document how much water the school is wasting each week. Students may prepare a spreadsheet with their data, create a plan to save water at the school, and give a presentation to the principal and the school-based decision-making, learn to persuade them to adopt to their plan. Another example of a lesson at this level is a student designing and implementing campaign to perceive the wildlife in their area, with students presenting their findings to and persuading town official. And finally, we come to specializing. So at this level, students collaborate with an expert in a field or discipline, and their learning and projects have a positive impact on a national or global issue or problems. Here, students have a sense of ownership over their learning and do it wholeheartedly and diligently. For example, students get involved and collaborate with national or international organizations to help stop chemical dumping in the ocean. So, answering the moderator's questions, the implementation of future pedagogy can help in student involvement through 5 levels, namely knowing, practicing, investigating, integrating, and specializing. I think that is all from me. Thank you. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Linda. Dr. Naslinda, just now she stressed on the implementation of future pedagogy. Real world learning is definitely beneficial for the learners. All right, now we are here back again with Dr. Sofian. I would like to know your views on benefits of future pedagogy in the long run for the education development involving the teachers, learners, the community, and the nation itself.
Thank you. Before I begin, I want to share a provocation here that we are not out of the pandemic yet, but we are in a what we call a liminal space within the pandemic. What I'm trying to say is that in a sense that we are moving towards something new, but we are not there yet. And because that we are in this liminal space, we have to acknowledge that there are teachers and students who are still challenged with what is currently happening in the teaching and learning space. And we need to exercise compassion in how we teach. And this was mentioned also by Dr. Azida in terms of the different types of teachers and how they engage with technology. In response to your question, I feel that a holistic pedagogical approach to education is very crucial now, especially in the challenging times that we are experiencing. And this holistic pedagogical approach should address students' learning, social, and emotional needs. As promised earlier just now, I'm going to talk a little bit about inclusive pedagogy, and now also a little bit about compassionate pedagogy and transition pedagogy. Now, these are frameworks which I work with at a university, which I believe are frameworks that are applicable at any level of education a teacher is teaching at. However, as I mentioned earlier, in thinking about future pedagogies, I think teachers need to evaluate innovations which may not necessarily be useful or meaningful to their students, and which also may not be sustainable for them to continue doing. So essentially, inclusive pedagogy is all about being aware of the diversity in your students. Traditionally, diversity is concerned about learning styles. And I'm sure most of us who have gone through teacher training, we've been taught about students who are learning through touch, through visuals, through text, and things like that. So as teachers, we adapt how we teach and the resources we develop to cater to these different learning styles. In the contemporary discourse, diversity could mean anything, right, that concerns the students. Madam Shafinas mentioned gender, age, and motivations, which can form our own understandings of diversity in the contemporary sense. So as teachers, we need to understand that when we do teach and when we do apply pedagogies like using technologies and things like that, we need to consider these diversities essentially such that so that we can in fact teach more effectively and engage our students more. So inclusive pedagogy is one of the frameworks which I work with in my role as a learning and teaching consultant in higher education. So in my university, we understand that we have a diverse student body. We don't only have students who have come into uni straight from high school. So we have students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. We have First Peoples, indigenous students. We have mature age students. Just to share with you, I had a 72-year-old student who was a refugee, and he attended my course in sociolinguistics. But this particular student, because of their age, they were not able to adapt to the use of technology. So we need to support that particular student in that area. At the same time, also in relation to academic writing. So mature age students, we have mature age students. So diversity in higher education also means that students who are culturally and linguistically diverse, students living with disabilities, and as educators, hand on heart, we need to develop pedagogies which address these needs of these equity groups of students. The next pedagogy I would like to share with you is essentially what I call compassionate pedagogy. Now, in its broader sense, it means that you demonstrate empathy, okay, and compassion to your students, and that you are aware of their circumstances. So core to the compassionate pedagogy and similar to inclusive pedagogy is that students are put at the core of the learning and teaching experience. Now, in other words, this could be an understanding of student-centered pedagogy as introduced by Dr. Azida and highlighted by Dr. Norazlinda. So student-centered pedagogy has many different aspects, and one of them would be compassionate pedagogy. An example of compassionate pedagogy is something about if a student is not able to complete task on time. So we'll need to find out why. Not just say, you need to finish your homework right now, or you need to finish that task right now. Take the time to actually ask, why are you not able to finish this work? And then explore resolutions from there. This will also take away stresses from you as a teacher and as students needing to complete particular tasks. One example that we are currently doing in the university is that at this time we understand that students are facing a lot of stresses. So what we do is that we are again, within limits, we do put forward to students that if they do need an extension, okay, they will need to advise us accordingly, and we will consider this request for extensions considerably given the context they are in, rather than say, no, you can't have this extension. So this is an understanding of compassionate pedagogy. I'm sure you can apply this in your own practice in many different ways. And finally, I want to share with you a little bit about transition pedagogy. So transition pedagogy essentially focuses on what your students have at that time, right? Which means the knowledge and the skills that they have at that time in your class, all right? And what do they need in order to transition from your class to another class successfully? So when I talk about class, I could also talk about different levels. So, but when I talk about knowledge and skills, I'm not just referring about subject-related knowledge, not about being able to add or being able to divide or being able to spell certain things. I'm thinking about beyond that, beyond those academic skills. Madam Shafina mentioned something about critical thinking skills. That's one of the skills that isn't necessary, that borders beyond just basic academic skills. But I also like us as teachers to include pedagogies that incorporate teaching students how to be resilient, how to manage challenges, how to make decisions in this constantly changing environment. And all these are real world learnings and real world skills, as highlighted by almost all of our panelists today. So I feel that what teacher education needs today are opportunities for teacher trainees, pre-service teachers, or teachers already in the service to explore this idea of that there is a spectrum of student diversities. It's not just about different learning styles. Teaching diversely and teaching diversity are courses that we do have within the education and professional studies here at Griffith University. So these courses teach students different ways of how to engage with students from particular groups. And also at the same time, teaching about differences within the classroom, like in terms of race, in terms of language. Teachers at Griffith University, pre-service teachers at Griffith University are also taught about how to teach students living with disabilities. More recently, from talking with my colleagues, I now also learned that there are disabilities that you can see and that there are disabilities that you don't. And some of our students belong to that later category, disabilities that you don't see. So again, to close, I think teacher education needs to have more, how do I say, a different approach. Yes, we need to focus on pedagogies relating to teaching, but let's now also include pedagogies that relate to more effective developments of students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sofian. It is very interesting that you mentioned about compassion as an important element in carrying out education during these trying times. Well, inclusive pedagogy considers diversity among learners in ensuring engagement of the learners with the learning processes. And you mentioned about compassionate pedagogy that provide actually opportunities for the teachers, for the educators to show empathy, to show compassionate to the students and explore solutions that suit the students' needs individually. And we looked at transition pedagogy that focuses on the students' current skills and knowledge and focusing beyond the academic skills. Okay, this is something that is beyond whatever we have been practicing all this while. Okay, and for example, you mentioned just now incorporating resilience. Okay, that has very much related actually to real world learning. Okay,
Can
and
I also can I interject,
yes,
Madam
sure, sure.
Moderator?
Go
I
ahead, Dr.
think
Sufyan.
I think as teachers we have been doing this, right? And as educators to teachers, we have also been probably modeling this. So I think what is important right now is to make this visible, to make these skills applicable rather than in passing. I sayang my students, you say that, but how do you show them? Okay, that is modeling, and it is currently very important right now because of the absence of or rather the impact on teacher-student relations. So we need to make it more visible so that we are able to hopefully get our teachers to apply accordingly, not in passing, but explicitly have intent, have some kind of active understanding of how to apply these approaches accordingly.
I would say make it part of your daily practice as teachers, as
Definitely.
educators, right? Okay,
Definitely.
and I was amazed when you mentioned something very nice: teaching diversely and in diversity. Okay, and ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, it is crystal clear from a broader perspective. Future pedagogy, there are various of approaches out there. It seems is the way forward in the advancement of education for the nation. Once again, thank you, Dr. Sophian. Okay, now here we are in the final round of our discussion. We have heard from our panelists of their insights on the potential of the future pedagogy, challenges faced by the educators, the implementation and the impacts of future pedagogy towards teaching and learning, especially during these challenging times. Now, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Zida Abuzidin to wrap up the key points of our discussion, focusing on the role of the teacher training programs providers to empower our current and future educators, mainly in Malaysia. The floor is yours, Dr. Zida.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. Thank you very much. Before I conclude our discussion today, okay, I would like to highlight what Dr. Sophia mentioned just now, because yesterday I had a class whereby I did a test, okay, hands-on test, whereby the students need to finish off a task in 2 hours, all right, and then they need to submit. But at 11 a.m., suddenly I received a WhatsApp message stated that, doctor, can you give me some excuse because I'm not well. Okay, I'm not well, and I'm not going to. I cannot sit in front of my computer this morning. So can you extend the time for submission? And then, last time, okay, during, I think, many years back, if students ask me to extend the time, I will say no. Okay, no, definitely no, because this is you are not on time. Okay, so I need you to submit, or you get a zero marks. But yesterday what I did was, okay, take your time, okay, take care, all right. When you feel that you are okay, then you can do the test, all right. It is a test. So, and then the student said, thank you so much, doctor. So I think that, we as educators, we need to change. Okay, ready to change, because the first thing is, as I mentioned earlier, that the future generation is different. Okay, last time our teachers, they bring cane to school. All right, if you don't do this, you will get smacked or whatever. All right, but now we cannot do that, not because of we can't do that, but it is because the future generation is different. They are different, and we need to prepare our teachers, okay, and our future generation with different types of compassion, maybe, or maybe value, okay, maybe attitude. All right, so then the teachers training provider also need to look at how we instill that to our future teachers, right? Okay, so I think that the main questions here for teacher training programs need to ask, okay, before we go to we continue what we are doing now is what knowledge, what skills, or attitudes or values. I think values is really important. Okay, what value that we the students today's students need, all right, to thrive and shape their world. All right, they have a lot of resources that they can get very easily in the internet. Okay, they can just Google and then they can look for whatever content, whatever they need to look for. All right, but we as education providers, okay, how are we going to get our teachers to help the students? All right, to know that this is the value needed for future generation. Okay, we need to be you to be like this. Okay, we don't need people who like to viral things. The consideration need to be there, and this comes from the teachers. Okay, this comes from the teachers, not from the students. Okay, the student, they don't know, they might not know. If let's say we depends on only the students, then we are looking at very bad generations, okay, in the future. All right, but now we can see that some of our teachers, okay, we are not preparing them for that. All right, even the teachers viral something. Okay, the teachers are the what we call I don't know what to say, but okay, I'll stop to that. But I think, yeah, okay, the teacher should be the one who facilitate, okay, who effectively develop our future generations. So then we, as education provider, teacher training programs, okay, we need to think of how can these knowledge, skill, attitude, values, okay, can be effectively developed for future teachers. All right. So back to Dr. Burhanuddin just now, okay, about pedagogy, act, deliver, and methods. So how do we act? Okay, how do we deliver? What methods?
Okay, I found this on the web.
How suddenly my Siri answer my questions. So what methods are we going to use? All right, what methods are we going to use? So Siri try to answer my questions, meaning that whatever questions that I am asking, all right, can be answered by Siri. So do we need a robot to answer our question? Okay, is it searchable in the internet, or are we do we need to actually try, explore, okay, and integrate the values of what we would like our future generation to have, okay, in our teaching. All right, I would like to repeat that they are our students, our pre-service teachers are digital natives. Okay, I would like to repeat that, and they learn differently compared to us. All right, we learned differently last time. All right, so they are going to teach much more advanced digital natives. All right, so more technology advancement will be here in the future. Okay, now we have VR, we have AR. Okay, and maybe people do say that maybe one time we are not needed anymore, because everything is in the internet, everything can be done technologically. So while we are here, okay, so we need to ponder, we need to think, okay, and we need to prepare our future teachers with technological skills, but with value. We need to prepare their attitudes, all right, their attitudes, and how they value whatever they have currently, and to be for them to prepare the future generation. Remember, our future teachers are agents of change. They are the agent. All right. We need the teacher that can help our nation to change to the to a good value. Not, the technology is there. It is going to be it is going to change. Okay, and it is changing very fast, very 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 fast. Okay, but we are here. We are human. Okay, as human, we can facilitate. Okay, and teachers are the agent. We need to help our generation, our future generation. So I think maybe there are a lot of things that we as educators for teachers, okay, and we need also to change our mindsets. I think the change of mindset is really needed for us. Okay, we as we are teaching future teachers, we need to change our mindsets. We are not going to teach content. Content can be searched, can be Google. All right. But values need to be instilled in our prospective teachers, our pre-service teachers first. Okay, then they will be able to actually be the agent of change for our future generation. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azida. You have shared a very insightful vision just now. Inshallah, let's make it happen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky to have views, thoughts, and experiences from Malaysia. Now, let's hear from Dr. Sofian on the international perspective. What are the key messages that we can all learn from our discussion today, focusing on the potential of future pedagogy and innovative approaches in teaching and learning in ensuring the best learning experiences for the learners? Over to you, Dr. Sofian.
Thank you so much. So for me as an educator, I constantly acknowledge that future pedagogy does not just mean new ways of teaching, because core to my own practice is the relationship formed between teachers and their students. And again, I totally agree with Dr. Baharudin in terms of when you have this relationship form thing, you can do wonderful things. So my considerations of pedagogy, current or future, should support this relationship and not at the expense of it. I was at an event last week organized by Griffith University's School of Education and Professional Studies. The event was a summit where people come together and they do a lot of sharing. And the event was for academics and teachers in primary and secondary schools across Australia, doing the same thing that we're doing right now, exploring what future learning and teaching look like. One of the key messages I received is that as educators, we need to be able to pedagogically support students to have skills in reflecting and rethinking. And this resonates so much to what Dr. Azida has just mentioned, that in terms of, in future, we don't do a lot of content sharing with our students, but we do a lot of value sharing. We do a lot of skills sharing, because Siri can, just like we saw just now, Siri can actually provide some of the answers. So why do students need teachers? Students still need teachers because they need skills to apply those knowledge accordingly. And moving forward into the future, it will be the skills of what the event was saying, reflecting and rethinking. So these skills go beyond our discussions around COVID-19, but have implications on how students can develop necessary skills and knowledge for the future. I think for most of us, we are in an age where we are required to learn more about soft skills, right? More about how do we interact with others? How do we collaborate with others? As much as those skills are still important for our students will be experiencing a different future, as mentioned by almost all of our panelists today. So an example given by a keynote speaker in the event that I was at is that our students will face issues and challenges which we ourselves are not at a stage where we are able to educate them sufficiently at this time. So issues and challenges which are presented in climate change, technological advancement, the future of work, now what does teaching look like? Environmental strains, social unrest. These are real world events that will be more prominent in the future of our students. And this is again relates to how real world learning and teaching will come in. But it's not about content, it's more about how they manage the content to the best of their ability, given the dynamic and constant change that we are experiencing currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sofian. Obviously, we share the same aspiration. Education, be it current or future pedagogy, most importantly is strong relationship between teachers and students. Teachers and students need to work closely, being able to work closely, understanding each other beyond academic focuses in adapting to a real event in the real world. Now we have heard from Dr. Azida and Dr. Sofian on the potentials of various future pedagogy for the benefits of our learners, learning experience, and our teachers' advancement in pedagogical approaches. Now, let's hear from our very own Head of Education Department, Institute of Teachers, Training Technical Education Campus, Malaysia, to conclude our discussion this morning. Please welcome Dr. Baharudin Saleh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator Saratul. Once again, I want to conclude all of the panelists respond. Today we have shared the importance of pedagogy in education and the approach we can take to build the learning environment. Information related just now, Dr. Norsina said, and Madam Harisun, the real world learning pedagogy where students learn from interest with and has an impact on the actual real world. Student experience real world authentic learning by interacting with the real world to complete tasks and solve the problems. Education today should involve collaboration with experts in the field and interdisciplinary. Just Madam Harisun said just now, across all of the subject. In Malay we call hubung kait or gabung jalin. All of the subject when we teach the students. Education should prepare future leaders. This is very important in any country. Dr. Azidah just mentioned just now how we engage new learning to students. We want our students to explore different type of learning, understanding new words, example, or new vocabulary. In order to deliver the input to students, teacher needs to be trained to improve their competency, to use the tool or approach. The departments conduct coaching and mentoring program to increase teachers' competency. Above all, how do we guide the teacher? COVID-19 pandemic has raised the issue of equity students are at homes. Home-based pedagogy, just Dr. Sofian mentioned about home-based learning from home. And we in Malaysia, we call PDPR, used, I think, totally online learning in our process education teaching. Okay, home-based learning model has been introduced to reach students who are at home and face many issues. Teachers adopt the concept of belonging, where a relationship between teachers, students, and peers is strengthened. Just mention all the panelists mentioned all about the relationship, real world education. Therefore, the learners need to be integrated to the real world. In service and per-service, teachers are not afraid of technology anymore. They adopt technology in their teaching and learning rapidly. The students should be exposed to the experimental learning. They will design collaborations and present their projects. This future pedagogy will benefitsly prepare the student career undertaking. Okay, the pedagogical approach that educator will use in classroom should take into consideration the diversity of the student when we teach, especially in the classroom or in our Institute of Teaching Education, university, or in the classroom in the school. And that's all from me. Thank you, and back to moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bahrudin. Ladies and gentlemen, all along our fruitful discussion, we have come to conclude that learning has no bound. It is important to be on board with the vision that future pedagogy is relevant and without any delay begins today. It is crucial for educators to equip themselves with knowledge and skills of future pedagogies and also to keep updated with innovation in pedagogical approaches to optimize learners' involvement and engagement in the learning processes during these challenging times. It is also time for change. Other than focusing on academic knowledge and skills, it is very important to incorporate humanistic values, learners' diversity, compassion, empathy, positive attitudes, and moral values in consideration of future pedagogy as part of the idea of real-world learning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of our e-roundtable discussion session. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Bahrudin Saleh, Dr. Nuhaslinda binti Shuib, Madam Cik Harrison binti Abdullah, Associate Professor Dr. Zidah binti Abu Zidin, Madam Shafinas binti Adam, and Dr. Sofian bin Subhan, and the Secretariat of the e-roundtable discussion for your endless support for the program. And not to forget, to our viewers who has been with us right from the beginning, showing your high enthusiasm in seeking knowledge to better educate our future generation. My utmost respect to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, as much as we enjoy the discussion, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Inshallah, till we meet again. With that, I end our discussion with Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Best wishes and good day to everyone. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
We'll take a photo, all of the panelists.
And moderator.
And the moderator. Thank you, Dr. Sofian. I heard you want to fly to Singapore, is it?
It was supposed to be today, but I didn't get a passport for my son yet. So we have to delay it, probably in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully we get the passport by then. So I really miss my mom and my dad, my mom and Abba. They're in Singapore. So I can't wait to see them because I've not seen them for close to over 2 years.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, and my son has not seen their my youngest son has not seen their his grandparents yet. So we're really hoping to get on a flight sometime soon.
May Allah is everything. May Allah is everything. All right.
Dr. Sofian. Safali, come. Wait.
I'll be on screen. No problem. I'll be on screen.
All of my teams here. There are two. There's Miss Puan Sabaria, Madam Sabaria. 1, 2, 3. Okay, mas. Okay, right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Ajida. Thank you, Madam Safinas. Thank you, Dr. Sofian.